peppers. You can make almost anything taste good.
Yeah, but that wasn't a lesson they was trying to teach us. So they would, it's just something, if you don't want to eat it, you better not kill it. So you just don't do it.
That's a really interesting lesson. That's a good one.
There's a difference in going out and hunting and providing for your family and all that. Just going out there and killing stuff, that's not right, man. It's not cool. You got to be some kind of ethics involved.
Well, let me tell you.
I hear you.
Let me tell you that duck wrapped in bacon with water chestnuts is actually excellent.
I've tried duck 5 different ways, once in a 5-star restaurant, and I will never eat it again. I just don't like it. It tastes like mud and liver.
That's fair. It does taste a little bit like that.
I've tried it multiple times just to see if whoever cooked it didn't know what they were doing. And nope, I just don't like it, so I'm not eating it. No, but
that's fair.
Mud and what'd you say? It tastes like
mud and liver. Yeah, mud and beef liver mixed. It's like
is that the name of your first poetry collection? Mud and liver.
There you go. Sounds like a good one.
It's got a point of view in the title already.
Right. Hey man, let me ask you a question. I posted it in Discord earlier this week, but nobody got back with me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I tagged Shrimp, and you guys are probably busy, but what I was gonna ask is if I'm getting into something in Blender, and like I'm literally physically trying to build horny toads, and the more I get in there, it's like almost completely froze up, dude. I can't do anything else with it. Is there a way to stop that or to get around that?
Well, yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So something is bad.
Well, it's like if I'm in there and I'm zoomed out and I'm working on something, no big deal, then it'll go. But if I'm like zoomed inside the club trying to like say deck out the bar, then once I get in there, it's like it don't want to scroll. It takes forever to get it to back out of it, or pan or something like that. And it's just like it's not really freezing up, but it's just really, really, really slowing down.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's like diagnosing that is like a hard thing to do. It's like it's probably something simple and stupid, but then again, it could not be. First is like, are you using the version of Blender that goes through Steam? Sometimes that creates a problem.
I don't know. I'm using the latest version of whatever's up.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so that's a big problem because if you're talking about doing things that are lightweight and stuff, I mean,
right?
Are you doing things that are lightweight or heavyweight?
I don't know.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I'm just building it, bro.
Okay,
actually, if you can, let me tag you in the channel if you're not already in the Horny Toads channel, and you can see there's just some quick shots that I put in there of what I was doing.
All right.
Okay, well, I just tagged you.
Okay.
I tagged you in there, and if you want to scroll up, a little bit, not much, you can see what I'm playing with, and it's like the more that I get put in there, it just don't want to move.
Yeah, I'm looking for the tag or being tagged. I don't see anything yet.
It's in a Horny's Angels.
I may not have access to that. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. I think, okay, I want to help you.
Okay.
Maybe now's not the right forum.
Time? Okay.
Because it sounds like a bit of a rabbit hole to just get the application working, because you should be able to do the basic stuff. So the things that I was planning to go through with you guys is this whole thing about rigging. Now, I mean, the two of you here, what's his name was here a second ago, but then he disappeared. what do you? Okay, there's a couple things I want to throw out here. One is that we can go over rigging, and we can go over character rigging. We can also go over rigging from a point of view of like what it is and what it does and how to use it, and very importantly, how to do because one of the things that you guys have expressed interest in is making stuff that is of use. And so the process of doing that is, you know, the modeling, but also setting it up with a really simple rig usually. I mean, sometimes you don't have to set up any kind of rig, but essentially there's usually a rig.
Mm-hmm.
Usually something that drives motion or that's a hook into it. So those can be as complex as, you know, as like if you look at my screen, where the fuck is everything? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, here we go. Turn that off and then this on. Okay, so and then I'm gonna just take this other alien armature, turn that off. So this is a rig, which like how much do you guys understand what the hell this even means?
You're pretty much just setting up all the mechanical joints to be able to move in essentially the ways you want it to, and then I guess you got to tell it how to move.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's fundamentally it. So the process of it we can go through because there's a process of creating something like this, so that when you are like in the mode for doing animation, you know, things start to be related and can
I can play with that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot to play with once you get it set up for motion, right?
Yeah, I haven't checked out any of the animation or anything like that yet. I haven't got anywhere near that close. I mean, I've got the pretty basic idea of how to model and do different stuff, which just takes practice to get better, I guess. But this stuff I haven't even looked at yet.
Right. So this is a big topic, but it's an important one. And so we can start it, like the high level of all this has to do with character rigging. And this is a very simple character rig right here. But we can start with the basics so that you guys can understand what it even means. Like what the hell a rig even does. So how do you want me to approach it? Because it's a good thing to understand. And if you want to make stuff that can be useful, like in a game, then you need to actually structure it in a particular kind of way in order for things like to go from Blender into Unity and have things move around.
Okay.
Right. So, and that's a whole other topic, but it all has to start out with like good practices, like rigging and what the fuck it is.
I guess just start right at the beginning of the rigging. Just say that we've got our model set up, and now we want to figure out how to get the damn thing to move around.
Well, okay, so here let's actually do this. It's a slight cheat, but it's actually going to be a better way to do it. So I recorded. I did a screen recording of setting up this rig. So I'm going to go through it. And the advantage of this is that I can fast forward through all this shit where I paused or fucking dealt with the dog or something. So, all right. So here, okay. So the first thing that has happened is laying out of these spine joints, right?
Right.
Because you have to create an armature. So what that means is that going back to Blender, I'm gonna hide everything. And we are going to dump in. God damn it! Wait, what the heck? Oh, this is so stupid. So I'm in pose mode. Duh. Okay. I don't want to apply. I want to do the shift A thing, which is to add a mesh and just do like a cylinder. And all right. And so then we're going to just split that up a few times. And then scale it all up. All right, so we just have a thing here. It's a tube.
Right.
All right. And put that there. And then here's a very important. This kind of shit is tedious as fuck, but it's really important. And so one of the most important things to remember here is that if you apply scales and rotations to things, when you rig them, it's going to get all screwy.
Okay.
So you see how like it's all scaled up here. So in Blender, you may have seen this before, but if I've done this, you know, and I just like scale it some other way, so I'll just scale it in X and Y, you know, whatever. So now I've got all these weird numbers. And so the first thing you got to do is you got to hit, let's see, Command A, which is apply, okay? Which is also up here in the object thing, and apply. What does apply mean? You guys know what apply means?
Yeah, it means you put something towards something.
Yeah.
You apply to the scale.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially you're saying set everything back to the basics. So I'm going to hit all transforms here, and you see how like it went, like now it's the scale is 111.
Okay.
Right? It was all this shit. And then I hit apply. Now you can do it like, you know, piecemeal, but in this case, it's fine to just do it like that. It's usually the scale that messes things up. So if you ever rig something and it's like, why the hell is this going all weird and fudgy and unpredictable? It's probably because of that. So you got to do that. Now, so the thing, so what the hell is a rig? A rig is an armature. So you're going to add an armature object in, add armature. Okay, so what the hell does that even mean? Well, here's what it means. When you do the add armature thingy, you get one of these. This is called a bone. Okay. Now, it's important to understand that bones and armatures are often, they're the same entity, but a bone belongs to an armature. And an armature is basically the system that manages the motion of the rig and the vertices to which it is connected on the object that it is, that it controls. Okay. So we're just going to call this, you know, we're just going to call this root. Okay. And then what do you do? So I'm going to move this back to here, for example. All right. Now, when you have your armature, notice that I had to move that out of the way. So there's certain settings that are really important here, right? So you want in front. Okay.
Okay.
Because that helps you see it. Then you want to be using the number pad keys for like, you know, what's forward, what's right, what's left, and all that other stuff. Okay, so right in front, there's a shitload of details involved in this stuff. Right. So hang in there. But
essentially you're just building the skeleton, but putting it in front takes it out of the skin, so it's not in the center of your object, right?
No.
Okay.
That I'm glad you brought that up, because the way I described it makes it seem that way. So this is part of like what's wonderful about all these CG applications. They're really quite depthy and complex. So you notice, right, in Blender, there's all this, and you really got to understand what each of these symbols is, right? So this is the armature one. So what I was in when I set that is viewport display. Right. So it's going to choose just how it's viewed in the viewport, and so it's in front. So in other words, it'll be in front of the geometry visually, no matter what. But if I look at it from the top, it's still exactly where it was. Right. Okay? Exactly. Yeah. So it actually is in the center as it's supposed to be, and yada yada yada. Now I'm gonna like just do a little cheat here. Bring this down. Okay. Fine. All right. So now, what do you do with this armature? I mean, you know how like to get another bone on this? Because let's say we want a whole stack of bones going straight up the spectrum. Right. Okay. Just duplicate it. Well, you can do that. You can do that. But there's other things you might want to rather do. Okay. I had it. There it is. Okay. So, okay, back into edit mode. So here's the thing. So wait, no, not in edit mode. There we go. All right, let's get out of that stupid mode. All right, so here's the thing. When you create the armature, even though I'm creating it for this cylinder, there's no connection between this armature and the cylinder yet. First, you got to just set it up. So, you know, like this just say is a spine, you know, to make it as an example. Yeah. So what you do is you go into edit mode, okay? And now in edit mode, bones behave very differently than everything else in edit mode. The bones are kind of like sacrosanct kind of locators. And so you can manipulate them in edit mode without changing, like this is not scaling it up, actually. This is just resizing it. Okay. So, and you notice that I am dragging this thing along, all right? And I can do all the tricks, hit Z, and so let's just say, oh, I'm gonna have this be like one of the joint areas. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you go out of that, back to object mode, you notice that bone still has a scale of 1. That's very different. So in the way these bones can be manipulated. Now you can drag this bone anywhere here around. All right. So what you do is you use, the good thing about Blender is that it tends to be consistent across its keys, even though there's a lot of key commands. So I just hit the extrude button. So extrude Z, and then it's there, and then I'm hitting E again. You'll notice in the lower left corner, I got those keys, Z, and then E, oops, sorry. E again, and E again. Okay, all right, so what the hell? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I hit something that turned it into that. Okay, so now we got a stack of this. So what? So what? First of all, let's just talk about what the armature does before we talk about what it does elsewhere. So now what we have here is a chain. So if you look at it, right, this is a chain of bones. All right. So it's good habit to name these things correctly, but I'm not going to go through that right now. So because they're parented, what's going to happen, right? The one at the end, if you hit G, you can move it, but you notice how it stays connected to that. Also, you know, I'm still in edit mode, right? So the thing is, edit mode is how you place things. If you want to see how this thing's going to behave in as an armature, the other weird thing about Blender is you got to go into pose mode, which is Control Tab. So you notice how I'm into a pose mode now. All right. So now notice that when I drag this around, it does not pull any the other bones along with it because I'm not editing this armature. I'm actually moving it. And what it's showing you here is that when I'm using the G command, just like move, right? It's but you don't see it moving. You see it rotating, right? That's because it is anchored to this pivot point of its parent bone, right?
Right.
So parent-child relationships are really important. That is, again, you may be like already familiar with that concept, but it's really important in armatures because it literally determines what's going to happen. So if I rotate this now in pose mode, if I rotate this in the X direction, left and right on the screen, what's going to happen?
The one above and below are going to move as well because they're still attached. Okay. Yeah, I got you. You're pivoting off the second one.
Right. So why the one below doesn't move? Because it's the parent, right?
Okay.
The idea is that when a parent moves, the child moves with it. So and a child can move without the parent needing to cause them to move. So here, of course, there. Now, if I select all of these and rotate in X, what's going to happen?
Should pivot off the right there. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So now this is where all of this, like, all of the, excuse me, where the hell is it? There it is. So, hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. So now, why did that happen?
I don't know.
It's an important thing to understand because now you can see how like this is the way that things actually curve, right?
Yeah.
So what happened before is that I had the median point, I think, or active element chosen, one of those, and so it's going to rotate around that. This is where the pivot point, and this is another good and important like command to know. These pie menus in Blender, the period, just think of it as a point. The period key brings up the pivot point menu, and so you have all these things, these choices. So when you go to individual origins, that means when you do a transformation, it's going to transform each thing at its individual origin. So now when I rotate it, you get this like finger bending kind of motion.
Okay, right.
So that's obviously very important. Okay.
Right.
All right. So now we're back in object mode. So object mode, edit mode, and pose mode are essential for armatures. And the only place you can animate stuff really is in pose mode when you're dealing with armatures.
Right.
Now let's go back to any questions?
No.
Okay, so now let's go back to this thing, the physical object that is meant to be, manipulated by this. Okay, so this is the armature. Now, I notice when you click on individual bones in object mode, you're just getting the armature because the armature is the super object. If you want to click on individual bones and edit them, that's where you go to edit mode, but we don't want that. What we want to do is parent this to this. And the way parenting works is you select everything you want, and then the last thing you select is going to be the parent. Okay? It doesn't matter where I select any of this, the armature, because I'm selecting the armature, as you can see here. Okay? So now, now you hit Command P, okay, which is also just object parent. It's somewhere buried in here. Parent there. Yeah, but Command P. If you just remember, Command P will do it. So now you've got these choices. So the one you're basically going to take when you're building an armature that's meant to deform is this armature deform. Okay. So deform means it's going to drive the shape of the geometry. Now you notice all these things, these are going to be very important to know at a certain point. But for now, you just do with automatic weights. Do you have any idea what that means?
No.
Okay, so what the weights are when this thing moves, it is going to move when you move these individual bones now.
Right.
Okay, so we choose that, and now we're in pose mode. All right. So each of these, what automatic weights did is it took all of the vertices of this object and it assigned it to these different bones. Okay. Now the way that you know that, is, or you want to confirm it, is you click on the mesh and you look at the mesh attributes and vertex groups. Vertex groups are really important. Vertex groups and shape keys, but we'll get to shape keys another time. The vertex groups are suspiciously named exactly like the bones. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So what these vertex groups are is that they are clusters of vertices that are assigned to each bone.
Okay.
And not only that, but they're weighted. And so in a particular way so that there's transitions. And Blender does a pretty good job of doing an automatic thing, but it's something you're going to need to eventually control, is like what's weighted by what. So if I go root, okay, now I have to be in edit mode to show this. So it's like, now here are the vertex groups, and you notice that when I'm in object mode, you don't see those choices, but when I go into edit mode, you see assign, remove, select, deselect. So root, I'm going to select which one. The root is the bottom one. Which vertices do you think it's going to select? Ones that are near it, right? So same here. Select these. It tends to like remember things, so you got to deselect. So, but there's a blending that's going on here that's not visualized by this, but that gives you the idea of what these vertex groups are. Okay.
Right.
And okay, so back into object mode. Where was I? So now what that's saying is that those vertex groups are indicating is that when you do go into pose mode, and if I rotate this in X, you're gonna see this kind of thing, right? Now, what I can do to help make this a little bit more clear is turn off the wireframe and then just bring these down to like a wire, and then just start fucking around with it. Now, what you can notice is a number of things, right? One is that, hey, you can like, rotate shit and yada yada yada, and so you can actually move things now, which is great. It's awesome. And then you'll do this in pose mode, just fucking around, seeing what happens. And you can set keys on these, right? So, if I was starting to muck around, let's say I go to frame 1. Actually, I want this to be the timeline. Right. Make this just 30. And then there's a lot of things to be aware of at this point there's a lot of things that can be confusing at this point. The whole concept of poses, because you can record this as a pose and then it'll memorize it. And so you can just create a bunch of poses and then move between them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select, everything. And I'm just going to set keys on everything. Location, rotation. Okay. So there. So now I'm going to move this over to, now remember, everything started out at 0.
Right.
So I'm going to move these keys by just doing, the G and then X, and I'm going to move them over here. And then I'm going to create a whole other set of keys here. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my armature buddy. Where the hell is it? Oh, this is actually the way to do this here is you select all of the bones and then you want to reset them. Okay. Because notice that I set those keys and moved them to frame 30 down here.
Right.
Now I'm back on frame 1, and now I want to go back to my beginning pose. And so it'll say clear transform all. All right. So now I'm back there, and then I can just do set keys. Okay. So now one second. This is the other thing to keep in mind when you're talking about moving stuff is that there are different animation windows that you'll want to know about. You will definitely want to know about the dope sheet and specifically the version of the dope sheet called the action editor. Because now I've got this action here and I can do so I've created this dopey animation that's just going to go whamp, whamp, whamp,
Right.
So the thing is, though, this is a motion clip. So let's say that, in Unity, you're making a worm that's like, it's going to do this, and this is like one of its actions. It's like, it's recoiling. So, actually, hold on a second. I gotta, something's bugging me here. Now the frame rate is 25 frames per second. Let's just bump that to 60, like game speed, and then see what happens. Okay, so the thing is, what you've done here essentially is that you've created an animation clip, and when you do that. When you start creating clips like that, you'll notice that it created this thing, armature action. Now, if I take this armature action and I, it's already on here. Okay. So if I remove this won't get rid of the motion. That will get rid of the action, and I'll need to go back to my rest pose. So this is where things can get a little confusing, and you might want to go to the armature and hit rest position just to get back to square one.
Right.
Okay. So, and now in pose position, I want to get rid of all of these, transforms. So I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to select it all, go to pose, clear transforms all. Okay. Now, here's the weird thing. If I want to get that animation back, all I have to do is in the action editor, that 0 means it's not assigned to anything. Now I can put it on and it's going to do something, right? It's going to be that animation, but I can unlink it. Right? So that animation clip, I can unlink it. Now this shield is another important thing in Blender. I am not going to fully explain it right now, but it's going to be an important thing to click when you make these things and you want them to go over to like a game engine like Unity. So that shields it, because what that does essentially is that means that even if I unlink it from this thing, I save the file, and then if I quit, if you don't hit that shield when you quit Blender and open it up again in this file, that thing will be gone, because that shield actually keeps it around even though it's not attached to anything.
Okay.
that's a really important thing, is that it is making it available. It'll save it, because what Blender does when it saves it's the files, it's that it has a list of things. It's like, well, this is data that's not attached to anything or doing, so fuck it, get rid of it. But when you hit that shield, that's saying, I want this in this file forever, even if it's not connected to anything.
Okay.
Okay, so now that that is just a small excursion into like what like all of that what that means for the kind of density of detail that is involved in this process.
Yep.
Even though there's like something simple like this. So now let's go back to, all right, any questions about all of that?
It's going to take a lot of homework, a lot of repetition is all.
Yeah, well, I hope this is entertaining. This is one of these things that's like, once you get in control of it, it's totally worth it. But like learning it can be really fucking tedious.
Right.
And I wish there was a more exciting way to get it across, but I don't think there is. All right, so let's go.
I'm already thinking a list of stupid shit I'm going to do with this.
Well, here's that. That is the attitude you need to have, because the thing is, if you can have fun with a fucking cylinder and like 8 or 10 bones, then you're on your way. You can do this. The fact is that you can set this up. Here, I might as well just take this to the next level here, by showing like how you can start having fun with it and start to manage this. Hold on a second. There's the
Horny's gonna have a army of strippers animated.
No, I'm gonna put a head on that cylinder.
Well, yeah, this would be like the floppy thing,
Yeah.
with the
rubber pole.
Those things out front that got the little arms on them that wave around. We're just gonna have green bullet peckers there.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so let's look at something that's a little weird. And I'm going to show this to you on a real example because I think it's going to be more interesting. So let's go back to this alien video that I recorded of me doing this shit. So you'll notice over here on the right side of the screen that as I'm clicking on these bones and everything, I'm naming them with a very specific kind of, scheme, right? Spine 3, yada, yada, yada. Right. All right. So now I'm just speeding this up. And so that's using the extrude, right, to get that. Now, notice when you pull it out of the butt end instead of the tip end, it's not connected automatically.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here is just adjusting kind of where the leg bone is, the top leg. And you want to generally, you definitely want to follow some kind of anatomical idea. Right. To do all this placement. Let's go faster forward. Now you notice that these I'm naming .L. And the reason for that is because there's a symmetrize command that if you when you hit it, it'll take everything that's .L or .R and create the opposite. So you can get the other arm and the other leg for free, essentially. So here I'm just moving this shit around to, basically in the middle-ish. Right. And giving it some sense of the bending, because you notice that knee is bent. You don't want things straight up and down because for a very good reason that's going to be coming up really shortly here. So you fuss with this, blah, 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 make the arms, yada, yada, yada. I think this is where I went and had a cigarette or something. Okay, there we go. Now this gets all fucky because something went stupid. So I did the right thing. I just bailed, and and then made sure it still works, yada yada, and then still had an issue, and then finally like blah blah blah. Okay.
Mhm.
Again, position, 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 position.
Right.
All those things matter. So, and you definitely don't want things stock straight. Usually give it all those fucking names. Okay, so now, so here's another point. So you notice that this leg, right here, isn't
Right.
connected.
Right.
Because it's different. Because notice that things are going the other direction. Because a lot of times, really, what armatures are like long chain. They're chains, and so these things are going in different directions. There's the chain going up and this chain going down, and so the tip is connected to the head of another or to the butt of the other. And then so this is like, well, what does this even mean? So you got to be aware of little things like this, because what it means is that the thing to be aware of is that you do want this to have a parent, right?
Mhm.
So that, because you want it to be driven by like the core bone, like the pelvis is
Right.
the pelvis is where all movement kind of generates from.
Right.
So notice that it says is that connected bit is off. Okay, all these others are connected. This means that this can move freely, but it is still a parent of this bone, which of course is coming from the tip. So it's a little confusing. You may visually want to see it, that dotted line go like this, but this is where it is. Okay. Okay. So now, all right. So I'm right. You know, this is just fussing with naming and checking it all. Now, there's a very important step here. I mean, yeah, I'm fussing, adjusting, doing all these things, because you really want to go through this only once. Because if you make if it's like sloppy, you're just going to have to deparent it and then do it all again. Okay, so now this step is really important. When you have it so that you've got the spine, the head, there are obviously more elaborate ways to, I haven't done fingers or any of that, but let's just stick with the basics here. And you have all of these set up, placed right on the body, yada, 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 all the basic ones. Now notice that the way this is lit, you can see that, you know, these bones are rolled in slightly different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can lead to all kinds of weird issues. Like the fact that this is looking kind of right at you and this isn't in an orthographic view means there's twists involved. And so that can lead to unpredictability. So what you have to do is at this point, before you symmetrize, before you add any of the next level of constraint that we'll get to in a minute, is that you select all the bones, okay? And then you go to bone roll, recalculate roll, and do from the view axis looking front on a biped character. And if you notice that those you see how like there's that, and then when you do that bone roll, they're facing you. Now that's an important thing. If you don't do it, you wind up paying for it. Yet another fucking detail. Okay. So here, what am I doing now? So now the next thing is IK. You guys know what IK is?
No.
Inverse kinematics. So the way that everything was animated before inverse kinematics in CG, like Toy Story was actually animated in forward kinematics. And what that means is that you cannot everything is driven by the parent, right?
Right.
So in forward kinematics, that's the usual thing that we were doing with all of this. Where's the armature? Sorry, viewport display. Go back to octahedral. Okay, so this is forward kinematics. In other words, wherever the parent goes, the children of it are going to go. Inverse kinematics is that the child drives the motion.
Okay.
And that's calculated backwards to the root where it is stationary. And this is really important because of feet.
Okay.
So if you were to take this and what would happen here if you did all of these and then okay, we won't do that right now. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's go back to this. So setting up inverse kinematics makes this thing possible. So I'm gonna turn off this. Where are we? Turn off this. Go back to Alien, Gray Alien, and with his armature and all that. So, and then just make that armature visible. Oops, wrong armature. Gray Alien. There we go. Wait, what the hell? What the hell? Okay. What is going on here? Something is wrong. There we go. I was clicking on the wrong fucking thing. No, I wasn't. What's going on? Why is this duplicating? All right, we'll get to that some other time. Armature 003. We don't want that one. We want alien armature. Okay. See, this is why it's like you can go mad because I'm in edit mode. That's why. Idiot.
That's Blender.
It really fucking is. So here's the thing with an IK setup, which this currently has. That's what enables me because in a forward kinetic setup, let's see if I can turn these off. Okay, bottom line is this: the IK setup allows me to do this. I can go. See, I'm moving this up and down, but notice that the children, the feet, are in charge of where this thing is going to go, right?
Yeah.
The feet are pinned. So this enables you to, because you want that to happen, because you want every time for the feet to land, you don't want to, every time you move the hips, you want the feet to actually be in control of where things are going to go. Okay, so there are controls on this that enable you to move the foot and have it drive these other elements. Okay.
Yeah.
So and that's what inverse kinematics is. It's really important. So there are a bunch of very interesting things that go with that. Like this is called a pole vector. And that what this does is it shows that gives you control over where the knee is going. All right, so I'll go back to wire here or stick. So this means like, you know, when I'm thinking about this and it's just like a bow-legged alien, you know, well, it might be. And so, and you know, you can also choose a rotation point here, rather the pivot point by hitting period, And if I go to the 3D cursor, which is useful because it's at the origin in this case, and then if I want to rotate around Z, around that 3D cursor, you can see how like it's the same as like, you know, moving the knee out, you know, bowing it out, which you might want to do, which you will want to do. So it gives you all of this amazing control. So go back to act development. All right, so the way you set that up, though, and it's going to be worth looking it up, is that I'm going back here, you basically pick, you're going to take the bottommost part. This is me just extruding these things. And you notice that one of the things you got to do is you have to deparent them so that they are independent of the and that they don't deform. That deform button down here you want off.
Okay.
I'm speeding this up just because I'm aware of the time and yada yada. Okay, so what you're doing here in this IK setup, this box over on the right here, is that you're choosing a lot of things which are just kind of like, it's important to understand what these are. The target is the armature, which is called gray alien in this case. And then the bone in that armature, that's the target, is this IK target.L, which is this green bone down here. Now the next thing is the pole target, and the pole targets are also coming from the armature, and its bone is going to be the one that's called the pole sub, which is, there we go, there, and there'll be a list, and boom, it's there. Now things will go like this. This is exactly what's going to happen. Okay, what just happened, right? Well, this is part of the weirdness with IK setups, and so it's worth looking into them, is that the pole angle here, because of the nature of, we have a consistent angle going forward, that we did with that that maneuver of resetting the bone roll toward the front point of view. Yeah. What you have to do here is two things. One is that the chain length was left. Hold on a sec. Pull target. Go. Yeah, okay, so this thing, the pole angle is at 0. So that means that this thing is pulling it in the wrong direction. So you have to, you can mess with it, but really if you're doing it right, there's two things you got to do. Is one is to change the chain length to 2, because you don't want it to be dragging everything up the chain. You really only want it to be dragging to the hip, okay? Right. And so once you do that, you will notice that the foot will get all screwy, and the pole, because the pole angle is wrong. So you set that, you have to get that to the correct setting, which in this case is going to be 90 degrees. You see how like this can drive you insane? Yeah. And so that's what's needed in order to get to the point where you can set this up. And be able to move shit around like that. Right. So what that means, just to go through that real quick, back in Blender, okay, and we'll turn off this dude, we'll turn off the dude attached to the dude, and then go back to our test situation here. All right. And so if I wanted to set up an IK situation here, first thing to do is like choose the armature, go into pose mode, okay? And then I am going to like make a target here. Let's see. Oops, sorry. We're gonna. Okay. Sorry. Edit mode. All right, and I'm just gonna extrude out this thing and move it out a little bit. Make sure that it is that the bone is not a deforming bone, and I'm gonna call this IK target. Okay, and just move this back basically here. All right, so now I'm going to take this thing, this lowest bone, and I am going to go into pose mode. And I am going to add a constraint called IK constraint. Wait, what the hell? Bone constraint. Sorry. See, this is the constraint tab, and this is the bone constraint tab, because the IK control is it's called inverse kinematics, is a bone constraint. Now the target is going to be is called armature in this case, and the bone is the root, and the pole target. Oh, I didn't create one of those yet, so let me go back here into edit mode, and I'm just going to extrude. Oops, extrude one of these. Oh, God, please don't. Oh, fuck. Where the hell did that happen? Oh my God. This is that extrude issue again, isn't it? Okay. This will be fine. Give us a little bit of an arc here. Now we're back in pose mode, and we're back at the constraint thing and the pole target. Oh, right. We're gonna do. We're just gonna. Duplicate. Oops. And just call it So back into pose mode. And so now on the constraint, bone as the roots, and the pole target is also on the armature, and the bone is called pole. Okay. So, and then the chain length is going to be, let's say, 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and let's see what happens. Oh, right. Yeah, do that with pose position, rest position. Well, I fucking broke it. And there you have it. Armature. What the hell? Something
I
really
was
weird
wondering, I
happened.
saw you moving it back into the cylinder, and usually I have to individually do each axis to get it back to where I wanted, because you're not moving in 2D, you're moving in 3D, and this shit goes all over the place.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Here, I can, let's just, you want me to just go through it again real quick?
If you want to, go right ahead.
All right, so here's what you do. You go to, you add to your object that you want to animate,
Right.
you add an armature.
Right.
In that armature, there's a bone. And so when you look at the settings here, it's just as well. We go through this.
Yeah.
You go to in front, okay?
Right.
And then you go into edit mode. And I am going to just make a bunch of, I'm just going to drag this up and then extrude it.
Right.
And keep extruding. Keep extruding. Keep extruding. And boom. And now we've got a chain.
Right.
To be safe and sane about it, I'm going to go to one of my orthographic modes, and I'm going to go to bone roll, recalculate roll, view axis.
Right.
In this case, it wasn't really necessary, but just that I have it.
Right.
Now, go into pose mode, and then we want to add, oh wait, sorry. There's two things I want to do here. One is I want to extract this bone, and I want to extract this bone. And I want it, and that bone I need to be have deform off and oh shit, bone on one, sorry. Okay, and then I want it to not be connected. Okay. Actually, I don't want it to have a parent. That's really what it is. So there's no parent, and it's nothing to do with not being connected in this case. All right, so just line this up there. And now we should be ready to go into tab into pose mode. And then this is where we add the bone constraint called the inverse kinematic one. The target is armature. The bone is, oh, wait. That bone needs to be called IK target. Going back here, going back to the constraint. That is the IK target. And the pole target is armature and pole. And then see if that works. That's interesting. It's the chain length that hasn't been adjusted. What the fuck? Huh. All right. That sucks. That's weird.
This is how I do most of my learning. I'll get everything going and I'll fuck something up and I won't be able to fix it. So I'll wipe it out, start all over, practice.
Well, it's true. And so you can see that even somebody who knows what to do with it, the
Right.
process of making it again and again, you know, can't be, it needs to be repeated to do
Right.
this. And to figure out things and like the context of like actually making it simple like this is very revealing of how the process, okay, use tail, turn that off. No.
See, this is more realistic than a YouTube video where they do the damn speed model and then this fucker makes a whole city in, 5 minutes. That's just amazing. And it's like, how does he go through and not fuck nothing up and do it all perfect? And it's just not true.
Yeah, that's very true. So, this is interesting that this is not behaving the way I thought it would, because I thought for sure that this chain, what is up with this fucking chain? What? All right, sorry. Is this thing named wrong or something? No, that's IK target. And then that. Oh, that has to, the form needs to be off there. That shouldn't have anything to do with anything. And then the constraint. You know what I think is fucked up here? I think that maybe, just maybe, oh, I know why it's fucked up. You should be able to tell why I fucked this up. Because it's going the wrong direction. Because if this is going to mimic a leg, right? This is what I fucked up. Okay.
Okay.
This is supposed to mimic a leg. So here, we're going to take all these and we're going to start again. By but this time we're going to be able to do it really fast. It's like we'll be on the bus in 15 minutes. All right. So we want to add add armature, and there's a bone there now, and we can all just say in front. Right. And so what I really want to do now is go to put this motherfucker there. I want this thing to be like at the top of the world. Wait, wrong. Yeah. And heading down, because this is how a leg would be. This is actually weird, much more confusing than I kind of did this automatically for so many years that it's been a minute, and so I actually overlooked the fact that these things are going different directions here. That was bad of me. Okay. So now God only knows what's going to happen here. Guess we'll find out. Now I'm going to extrude here. extrude here, and then disconnect it. Actually, just remove its parent. There's that, there's that, there's that, and then a pull vector. Pull that out, and no parent there. No parent there. What the hell?
That's the number in the chain. Is that what it is?
No, it's the names actually don't really matter except for what should be.
Yeah.
Do this again. It's a safe thing to do. All right. Poll. Okay. Target. Okay. God willing, this will work. Pose mode. And bone constraint. Inverse kinematics. Target is armature. Bone is. Oh, sorry. Target is armature 01. Bone is IK target. Armature 01. Bone is pole. And the chain length is one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now you see this yellow line connecting
Right.
here. So now it does this.
Okay.
All right. So now notice that there's still some things that are fucked up here. So the pole angle actually looks right. So don't have to worry about that. This needs to you see how like the foot's going through the floor,
Right.
right? So
Right.
what you have to do is on that bone, you have to turn off inherent rotation. So now the foot stays fixed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now this, we want this to control the foot, but remember it's not connected. And it's is a sorry, it's connected through the IK chain, but you want it to rotate, control the foot too, because the foot is now controlled by this control.
Right.
So what that means is that you put another kind of constraint on here, which is called a copy rotation, and then the target is armature, and it's on the IK target. Now it flips out, right? So you want to invert the z-axis in this case.
Okay.
And so now when we rotate it, you expect it to, you expect it to like behave, it's like doing a mirror thing. So that's fucked up. So what that means is that the invert is also on the, you gotta set it to local space. And local space. And now let's see if we rotate it in Z, it's still opposite. And that's because you need to invert the, I think the Y axis. No, not the Y. Oh, wait, maybe you don't need to invert it. No, you do. You do. So the thing about bones, this is another little hot tip, is that on the armature, you often do want to look at the axes. They can help you understand what bones are doing, and that the lengthwise bone is always Y. So you might think it's Z, but it's Y.
Okay.
All right, and so so you want to invert the Y. I think. Maybe I don't. Maybe this is as far as tonight goes.
Right.
What the hell? I thought it was invert Z. Stupid. All right, one last time. Yeah. It doesn't even make any sense. But
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Got it.
So you just gotta fucking keep on going.
Right.
Now it works right, and the foot doesn't go through the floor. And the last thing, of course, just to cap it all off, is to take this object and click this thing, click the armature, and do Command P, automatic weights. And now we go into pose mode. You should see this thing animating really horribly, but it does animate.
Yeah.
Woo, woo. Okay. So this thing is stuck probably because this damn thing had deform on it, right?
Yeah.
Remember I told you got to turn it off for those, so that when you're messing around with this, you can see that those weights are attached there.
Right.
So we got to turn the form off, and now let's see what happens. It gets all fucked up because what we really needed to do is we needed to go back to, we got to take this and we got to hit Option P, which is clear parent, because we got to do this again, or reparent it after we've gone to edit mode and turned deform off on this and turned deform off on this. And so now the only ones that are going to deform are influenced by here. Now, because this is a foot, we're going to turn deform off on this because it's really just the leg that's happening here. So we take that, shift click the armature, Command P, automatic weights, and then Control tab into pose mode, and now we've got it all working. And now you can just have fun with that, setting keys.
Right.
All right. Well, that was a whirlwind. Probably cleared the room. Did you, Horny? Or anybody who's there? Did you get anything out of that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna have to go in and start playing with it, and I got a pretty good idea of everything that you did tonight, and I just think, like everything else in there, you're just gonna have to get in there and just do it over and over and over, and then play with it and learn all the other little commands, and just find out, what the possibilities are.
Yeah. Now let me point you to a guy who is really good at explaining this really quickly, so you can take your time to kind of go through it, because he actually does it in real time. He doesn't do the speed up thing.
Right.
But it's a YouTube channel called Infensia. A lot of what I'm doing right now, I picked up the teaching method basically from him. So if you go to Infensia and I've subscribed to on the playlists. He does a lot of stuff with Blender and Unity. He does Blender 10-minute modeling challenges. So this is a useful resource. It's like, let's model the Titanic in 10 minutes. You know, it's like, oh, it's 15 minutes, but still, right? So, and he literally does it in 15 minutes. Like you pick up a lot of these modeling techniques. So the other thing that he does is that he'll do rigging stuff too. So there's one in particular here I'd point out. Like, look at this. Let's model and rig 5 characters in 10 minutes. All right, it took 30 minutes. But the thing is, once you get that method down, you can like crank through this stuff. Like here's your low poly melee weapons, you know, and a lot of it is just that he's like he uses a lot of visual reference. And so actually, while I do get this, is one other resource I wanted to share with people tonight. So where the hell was the Thunder? Hold on a second. Here we go. And where are we all? We are all here. Where should I post this damn thing? Is there a chat here?
I don't know.
This is a drag Thursday. Yeah, there is a chat for Lilypad Lounge. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a chat for Lilypad.
Oh yeah, I should have had it open. I can see Waffles is like, over here, motherfucker. Hey, idiot. Hey, fucking idiot. Moron. Everything you need to know about the basic rigging that I went through is right there. So yeah, I could be replaced by a YouTube video. This guy's really good. So here's this other great resource that I'm gonna put there as well. That is it's called dimensions.com, and I'll show you why here. It has schematic drawings of like everything. So here are the categories, right? I'm doing this on my screen now. So humans, animals, plants, objects, furniture, objects, whatever. You scroll down, it'll have all these things. Like if you wanted to do like drinkware accessories and model them, what they have are these very simple schematics that you can just like use as snapshots and literally just do outlines according to them in Blender, like bringing in a visual plane, you know, a picture plane. So this is it's got people, pigs, everything. So you can actually use those as guidelines to model things pretty quickly once you get the whole low poly thing down. And let's see. There we go. There's that. All right. Hope that's useful. I mean, we didn't get anywhere near like putting stuff in Blender. I'm sorry, in Unity. That's a whole other fun thing to do. Is getting this stuff. Briefly, though, I can tell you that the goal for if you want to make stuff, the objective is to go into Blender, do all this cool stuff. Like I did these. I did these things just like, you know, earlier this week. They're going to be used in Unity. And so I did the modeling in Blender, and then over in Unity, what the, oh, I know what I did. a second. I have to load up this other file. Hold on a second. Oh shit, it may not be in there. Maybe what we'll do next time, if you want to, I mean, we can keep focusing on Blender. Going into Unity right now is a mistake. So we can keep focusing on Blender, or the next time we can talk about going from Blender into Unity, if that's something you.
Yeah, that'd be cool, because I haven't even begun to look into Unity yet. So, but I got a pretty good handle on how to do the modeling. The animation, I'll definitely need, quite a bit of homework and on some studying to do. But yeah, I haven't even begun with the Unity yet. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, so here's the take home from all that is that like this in back in Blender here, right? This like crown. So the crown has an armature. The armature has one bone in it. It's just this thing, okay?
Right.
But the thing is that now controls this, and it's an anchor that once you're in Unity, everything's all the animation that you're gonna do there, either programmatically or within Unity, you are going to do on this thing, because anything you do to this bone, it's going to do to the crown, because the crown is all like tied to that whole thing. So it'll just spin, it'll do whatever the hell you want it to. But the point is that the everything is at zero for these things, right? Like even this, I moved it, but really it's all created at zero, because that's important. And also the scale is all like tightened up and all of those other things. And then you got to know how to export things, what to click on first, what to click on second, and then all the FBX shit. But anyway, so you can model things. If you model stuff, like the next time we do take your models and we'll get them into Unity. Or you can bring problems, whatever.
That'd be cool. It'd be awesome.
Alrighty. Thanks for your attention.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, man. It's been very, very educational.
Yeah, this stuff can be like watching paint dry, but it's really powerful, and it's like worth going through all the agony to get to it.
Right.
So it's complicated, no doubt.
Definitely.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead. I can definitely like answer some questions or.
No, just if I can get with you later on to try and show you what I got going on where it's freezing up on me as I put more stuff into the scene or whatever. Maybe we can figure out
how much stuff. So this thing, right? On here, when you're in a scene, you turn on statistics.
Okay.
Because you see where I did that right here.
Yeah.
The holy shit! I think I recorded all of that. That might be useful. Although not the voice, I don't think. No, I just did a screen recording. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, in this little button here, the viewport overlays button.
Right.
You want to turn on statistics. So you see on the left side, it tells me everything that's in my scene currently. Now, if I choose an object and go into edit mode, it'll tell me like the number of vertices on that single object.
Okay.
Now,
well, see, it's got a lot of models in it that I've added, like the bar stools and couches and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure there's probably a shitload of geometry in that. Instead of just
yeah. So here's what you got to do. That is probably what's going on here.
Right.
So what you got to do is the way you deal with this is that you got to think about the way these programs operate. Is that once you have a thing, you
Right.
it can duplicate those not as duplicates in
Uh-huh.
data, but it'll point to it. So it still has to render it, but it won't be loaded down by like if I had 50 crowns in here, I would
Right.
have 50 times as many, vertices. But if I have
Okay.
one crown and that each crown is instanced, it's the whole concept of instancing. Instancing is what the computer does is like, oh, there are all these vertices with all these points and they're arranged in this manner. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to just take that. All those points take up a lot of room in memory and in storage. And so instead of duplicating that 50 times, it's going to take those same points and just depict them in a different part of space all at the same, that the renderer will just like, deal with it. So what you need to do there basically is you probably are, first of all, everything's probably a little heavy. Second of all, that you have to look into, and this is one of the Blender calls it library linking. So essentially, you would save a file. You make a Blender file for your couch, and you call it couch.blender, okay?
Right.
And then you would put those all in a furniture directory. And then you would open up a brand new Blender file and you would do file link. And so you're going to link essentially, like I can bring in whatever one of these things I'm working on, okay? And where the hell did it go? What? I don't know what the hell that's doing. Again, I'm being made to look like a fool.
No, you're just building my confidence. This is standard operating procedure for me.
Fucking A, man. Save this. Do actually, do you have to do like this? No. Yeah, this gets into the whole like how libraries are dealt with in Blender. So so here's this, and what I want to do is just link a file that came from something.
Right.
Oh, it's not set up to do that. No, it's not. Huh. You gotta look at library linking. That's the phrase.
Okay.
But you probably have too much stuff in your these files can't just be infinite. They can be big, but it depends on your your computer.
Right.
So Blender library linking, how to link Blender scenes, data blocks, and library overrides. So it's a journey there, but it's an important thing to do if you're going to build up like a giant scene.
Right.
That doesn't have that be bogged down by like all that data. I mean,
yeah.
So, but the first thing to do is just to make sure
that's what it was. Yeah, I figured that's what it was. I just had too much shit in there, and it was, if I'm trying to pan around or zoom in or something, it's having to compute all those vertices, you know what I mean, to get me to where I need to be able to see it, and it's just so damn slow. I guess it's trying to do all that at once.
How old is your computer?
Oh, this is maybe 7-8 months old. It's nothing special. It's an Acer Nitro 5.
So it's like a laptop, PC laptop.
Yeah, it's a laptop.
Bugs, is it?
Well, look at the size of the Blender file. That'll tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Bugs,
Well, I
is
look
it?
at it on the right of the Blender page, and I'm building this long as shit, man. So I figured that's what it is because it's got a different one for like couch, each bar stool, all that shit.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're duplicating things instead of instancing them.
Okay.
So anyway, so look that up. Look up instancing in Blender and library, use of libraries.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right. I'm writing all this down.
Like objects. Yeah. There's a way to create, yeah. Yeah. It's part of the weirdness of Blender. It's these things are good. These programs go very deep.
Right.
And so, you know, they give you a lot of power to do a lot of things, but a lot of it is very frustrating and can get you into trouble.
Well, what I've found is easier to just take it one step at a time. You know what I mean? Play with something simple, and then I'm like, well, I want to do this, and then I'll go over and okay, well, I need to learn this to do that, and just taking baby steps to get what I want until I can figure out what the hell I'm doing. To be honest with you.
Yeah. That's what you do.
Right.
You know, that's what you do. All right, so the last thing is, you said that in Horny's Angels, there's a link somewhere to the.
Yeah, there's just pictures that I've put up in there. I tagged you in the group. I don't know if you got it.
I might have to check my notification. Yeah. All right, I'll look at some of these things.
Okay.
But you know, the other thing is just you can just send it to that DM that we created, the Blender thing, or just to me personally, just like a snapshot of the file.
Right. Yeah, I'll shoot it over.
Or the other thing is to put it somewhere and send me a link, and I'll see if I can open it, and then I'll know exactly what's going on. That's the
right.
best
That's
thing
cool.
to do.
That's cool.
Alrighty.
All right, man. Well, I definitely appreciate it. Hope everybody else enjoyed it.
I know. It's a thin crew and a thin crowd, but
We're just gonna have to change the name of it, Educating Horny.
It's appreciated.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we're just gonna be doing naked models.
Right. Well, I did see the new Avatar today, and it was
Oh, you did?
it was fucking awesome. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, people who love Avatar love Avatar. I was never.
Well, I watched the movie in a whole different light this time. I mean, just a little bit that I've learned about this. I'm sitting there watching it going, fuck, dude, that took forever to do that one little scene. And it's definitely they put a shit ton of work into that. But on another topic, real quick, we've been talking about how weird the AI can get and the deep fakes and all that. And Hazer just blinked out. But what if you could take and like you guys were talking about, you can set the AI up on somebody to learn their mannerisms and their voice and their picture, a 3D model of them, and make, you know, and essentially make them, which is not really them, do whatever the hell you want to, you know, because you can artificial intelligence can fake that person. Well, what if we can keep like A-list actors alive forever? Not necessarily alive, but they can keep making movies for the next 1,000 years, and you're going to have the same actors like Conan the Barbarian. Nobody could play Conan like Schwarzenegger because that's just the way he set it up. Well, the guy's going to age. It's normal. Well, what if the AI could keep him alive for the next 200 years making new movies?
Well, that's already happening.
Yeah?
It's already an active point of discussion and debate about what the implications are for that,
Right.
and also issues that have to do with who owns a person's likeness in perpetuity and stuff like that. Shrimp worked on a project that involved Michael Jackson that he's talked about several times.
Yeah.
But that was part of the idea. It's not a. I mean, it's not a. It's already possible.
Right.
So to get some of that going, I mean, what people are going to do with it and whether it's used for good or evil, I guess we'll find out. It's like all technology.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of, it's going to raise a lot of questions about it.
Right.
And the use of it and what the implications are along every dimension, right? The legal and financial ones are kind of obvious, but then there's stuff well, does this mean that we're all like humanity is just going to make the same 20 movies over and over again? Everything's like a Marvel movie.
That's true.
I mean, that's already a huge crisis in entertainment now. That the kind of movies that you see every now and then that aren't like anything you've ever seen before, those movies are disappearing.
Right. Well, a lot of
anything you've seen before in a good way. So
a lot of the quote unquote new movies are just remakes of movies from 2 or 3 generations ago. You know what I mean? Like my grandparents' generation that people never seen at my age or younger, which to us is brand new. But somebody from their timeline, it's like, oh hell, we've seen that in the 40s. You know?
And then to be fair, Hollywood has been doing that since very early on. It's a very Hollywood thing to do, to recycle. Because Hollywood was built around recycling stories anyway.
Right.
And so it didn't become like its own kind of unique medium. It took like 20 to 30 years. But then as it has, now it's dealing with the economics of it, which kind of like force the situation into like, well, only movies that make billions of dollars can be made, which means you're not going to do any. You're not going to take a chance on something.
Right.
That much.
Right. That's true. That's very, very true.
Mm-hmm. It's a big issue, but anyway, it's fun.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let me know. I mean, that's true for anybody, who's on here. You can feel free to get a message to me. I haven't restricted. People can friend me, not a problem. I'll just keep an eye out for names that I recognize or something like that, or just let me know. It's like, hey, I want to send you this, blah 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 blah. And I'll be willing to crack these files open and look at them and solve problems.
That's cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. So, think again, and when you talk amongst yourselves about what you want, where you want this to go, it's obviously very vast. But it can help, create. I think it's actually worth creating things with an idea of getting it into like game engines, because it's like we definitely could use, or like you have been proposing, the idea of like people manufacturing things that can be of use. And so if they're set up right and done right so that we don't have to redo them, that's going to be valuable. So I want to just see how close we can get to like getting everybody's basic training, so that the simple things, you don't have to rig like a biped character and make them walk and run. Even things that are relatively static can be of use. If we need an enemy with a Tommy gun and we need to do some basic animation on the gun and squash and stretch or whatever, and things like that. Using pretty simple like rigs of 1 or 2 bones.
Right. All right. Well,
All right.
definitely appreciate it, man. Get some rest. Thank you very much for your time, and I definitely look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And happy to be here. And we'll see y'all next time.
All right, Ribbit.
Bye.
Later.